Thank you so much for making out time to join us today. We're so happy to have you here. My name is Oluchi, and I will be your facilitator for today. I'm the managing partner of the Rainbow Group, and we just decided to share this moment with you because over the past few months, we've been learning a number of things at Verindo, just things that make us a lot more high performance team. At Verindo, we're all about building a community of innovators who are able to do more with less. What that simply means is that we're very passionate about seeing pain out there in the society and sharpening our skills to be able to provide relief to the pain in different ways that it manifests. And that means continuous learning. And so we've been learning a number of things, and particularly in this final quarter, we're really looking at the concept of remote work and some of the challenges that teams like ours have been facing. And today we'll be diving more into one of those challenges, just basically the concept of building trust, collaboration, and connection within your team. And that is why we're here today. So I'd like to just welcome everybody. I understand that people are joining, and so if you're in here, it would just be great to have you say hello. Just drop your name and location, city preferably, where you're dialing in from, just so we can say hi to you. Okay. So we'll just take the next, we'll take about the next 1 minute to welcome people in. I see that our special guest is here. We're excited to have you. Hi, Peace. Welcome from Nairobi, Kenya. Hi, I'm Ayomiku, dialing in from Lagos. Thank you so much for joining. Hello, Janet. Welcome, 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 Samuel. It's a full house today. Hi, Ebuka. Thank you so much for joining. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Hi, Ebube. Thanks for joining. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's really great to have you guys here. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Beautiful. Awesome. You are welcome. Hi, Jonah, joining in from the UK. Thank you so much for making our time to be here. Okay. Awesome. Okay, okay, okay. All right. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and share my screen for a bit. Just 1 second. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Okay. Just confirm with me if you can see my screen.
Can see your screen, yes.
Oh, okay. Just 1 second. Okay. Okay. Let's try that again. All right.
We can see a screen now.
You can see my screen? All right,
Yes.
gotcha. Fantastic. All right. So as mentioned earlier, we're going to be talking about leading effectively in the era of remote work. Without further ado, I'm just going to introduce our guest speaker who's joined us today to have this conversation and moving forward. Just a quick one. As we're having conversations, myself and the guest speaker, you're free to put in any questions that you have into the chat, and we're going to be taking these questions on an ongoing basis. There is a dedicated time at the end of the conversations to really just address every question fully, but don't wait. Just keep your questions coming. Okay. Yeah. So today we have with us Miss Ida Brenda Nacheze. Ida is one of those people that personifies the phrase, "Not all heroes wear capes." A trained global supply chain and professional who had a first degree years ago from the University of Nottingham in business economics. Ida has, at last count, worked in over 20 plus African countries. And she likes to think of herself as a person who helps to move things, people, and resources from point A to point B across the globe. And more specifically, you would find Ida any other day, wherever there is war or disaster, she would likely be a few kilometers away. Ida her work has taken her to quite literally move resources within war-torn regions with bullets flying around. And it's also taking her to places where she's had to provide relief after hurricanes. And more recently, when the whole world shut down, Ida kept going. During the COVID pandemic, helping all of us get through the time with the resources, PPEs, and vaccines that we need. And so we've called Ida to join us today because we believe that if there's any sector or any group of people that understand the impact of leading effectively or the need to lead effectively, it would be people like Ida. For in their world, a lack of collaboration across global teams can literally be life and death. And so thank you so much for joining, Ida. Just want to say hi to everyone.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. That's quite the introduction.
Sure.
Thank you. I'm quite happy to be here, and yeah, let's talk. I'm looking forward to this.
Awesome. We're happy to have you. Okay, awesome. All right. Before we jump right into, just want to take a quick poll. And Jonah, I don't know if you can share your screen at this point. I need you guys to just scan the QR code on my screen, or if you don't have a QR code scanner, just go to slido.com and put in that code that you see on my screen, 2271028. That is slido.com, 2271028. Slido.com, 2271028. All right. Jenna, please share your screen. We're just going to answer two quick questions because we're trying to get a sense of what this problem looks like today for everyone on the call. Okay, slido.com 271068. Awesome. Okay, well, we're waiting for Jonah to bring that up. Thank you. Okay, so first question. Can we give a few words that describe your experience with remote work over the past 2 years? So the world had shut down in 2020, and I think remote work became the norm for all of us. So what words do you think best describe your experience so far? Just feel free to type in at least 5 words, and don't hold back anything that comes to your mind. For those of you who haven't joined, that's slido.com 278-1722. All right. All right, I see invincible colleagues. That's funny. I see stretching, dramatic, walking in pajamas, interesting. Okay, hectic, exciting, dramatic, endless. Keep it coming, keep it coming. Challenging. This person who said walking in pajamas, please see me after this webinar. We'd like to have more interesting conversations. It looks like challenging is definitely a word that is resounding across the audience. Yeah, just 10 more seconds for this. Okay, difficult and exciting. Yeah, video camera calls, tell me about it. Zoom fatigue is a thing. Limitless boundaries, very, very interesting, and still challenging. Challenging. Okay. Thank you so much for that, guys. And I want you to take a snapshot of what you're looking at on your screen. Because if you perform this experiment anywhere, you would get similar responses. Yeah. And let's move over to the second question. Okay, we have one person who is still trying to send a message, and we're about to move on. Next question. Okay. And so this second question is a poll, and it basically says, which of these would you say you struggle with the most during the era of remote work? Which of these do you struggle with the most during these times? Okay, building trust within the team, building connections within the team, and collaborating with team members. What do you guys think? Okay, we seem to be split 50-50. Okay. Keep the voting going. It looks to be equally split. Okay, trust. Apparently our audience, either we have people that have trust issues. Interesting. Okay. Awesome. Okay. All right. Thank you. It looks like what we have here, trust within the team, it's a big problem. Connections, and then collaborating with team members. I want you to take a snapshot of this as well, as we proceed over the next few minutes to the top of that. Thank you so much for that, Jonah. Now, just going back to sharing earlier. Let's see if I'm still sharing my screen. Can you guys still see my screen? Yes?
No, can't see a screen.
Okay. My Jonah kicked me off. Okay. All right. Okay, so going back to what I was sharing earlier, the results from the poll just now are not unlike the predominant body of knowledge out there today. Following a survey taken by Buffer a couple of years ago, they found that out of the top struggles that remote teams, over 1,000 teams, claim to have had, just the whole concept of collaborating, communication, and which all of us know are foundations for either building or destroying trust, seem to resound across different audiences. And that's why we're here today. Okay. And so over the next few minutes, we're just going to try to have a conversation with Ida from her stories to better understand how the teams that she has been in and or led have navigated trust, have navigated connections, and have navigated collaboration across borders. So, building trust. I guess the first question, Ida, is in your opinion, what would you say has been one of the biggest challenges when it comes to building trust in the teams that you found yourself in during this pandemic period?
Wow. Can you hear me? Maybe first of all.
Loud and clear.
Okay. Awesome. Getting right into the hard stuff. For me, it's difficult to trust someone I can't see. I think it kind of starts, and I won't say it ends there, but so in my tribe, we have this saying, like literally translates into we see by touching, right? And it's very intuitively, you want to be able to see the person that you're talking to, the person that you're working with, the person that you are asking to do things, or the person that's asking you to do things. You want to be able to read their face and know if they're saying, man, when you're doing this, it's not going great. Are they saying it from I'm just warning you as a friend? Are they saying it, be careful, your job is on the line? Like there's all those non-verbal communications that you tend to pick up on when you can see the person that you're talking to physically. When it comes to remote working, you're taking that away. You've taken away the non-verbal communication. And people that have that gift of being able to speak in the same tone, regardless of whether they are angry or happy or sad, or like they don't express emotion through their tone, I think this is their happy space. Because then you're just hiding behind this computer, and the people who work with this type of person struggle because they can't tell whether that person is happy, like what mood are they in? Am I doing a great job? Am I not? It's difficult, no? So yeah, I think that is probably one of the biggest challenges that I had personally with working remotely and being able to build that level of trust. I had to actively put that away to say, I don't need to see you to trust what I'm hearing, to trust what I'm reading, right? But then it's also a two-way street, because then you have to have the person on the other side put in more effort into communicating their intentions that otherwise would have been obvious if it was a job, right?
Interesting. Thank you so much for that, Ida. So is it safe to say that for you, a core essence that is required for building trust within teams is effective communication? And because we've lost the privilege of also sizing up not just what is being said, but how it's being said, the eye roll, and all of those other non-verbal cues, trust is very hard to build.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's ridiculous, but even taking a bit from the work that I do, right? When I started the job that I'm doing now currently, so just for a bit of context for everybody else, I'm currently working within the UN system, and I started this job 2+ years ago. And the first team that I worked with, it was entirely remote. Even the person who recruited me, the entire thing was done remotely. Not once did I even get onto a video call until I had physically been deployed to my place of the duty station. Okay, so duty station would be, for example, if you get a job and they're telling you, we expect you to be working, in Lagos because we need you to be able to reach certain locations with Lagos, but you live outside of Lagos, so you have to move yourself to Lagos, right? So Lagos is in the humanitarian space, we call that your duty station. So I started work a month and a half before I was relocated to my duty station. And that whole time I was having calls with people, submitting reports, giving opinions, doing things without ever having had a video call with any of the people I was working with. And my team we were 15 people on that team, right? From different countries at that. We never once had a video call. It's only until I got to my duty station where I was expecting to meet them in person, but no, that's when we graduated to video calls. Because they were, oh, okay, now you're in a place where the internet is fairly stable. Great, let's do the video call. And the whole first year that I worked, of those 15 people, I only physically met 4 across 1 year. And when I say met, like we met for coffee, not for like we were working every day together. So we had to be very, I mean, the head of the team lead was very intentional. He said, look, guys, this COVID situation is not great for anybody. Under normal circumstances, we would all be stuck in a room. We would all know each other's body odor in summer. We would all know who gets sleepy at what time of the day. We would all know who likes the smelly lunches and who doesn't eat. And like we would know these details about each other because we're sitting in the same room, yeah, under normal circumstances. But we don't have that. So we have to be more intentional about opening ourselves up, the people that we work with, not just in the personal space, but also in the professional side of things, right? So if you see an email from me and it reads like I'm shouting at you, please call me and ask, are you actually really shouting at me? Or is this like you forgot to take off the caps lock, for example, right? And similarly, if I read an email from you that looks like you're not taking this seriously, I need to call you and say, hey, just checking. Are you taking this seriously or are you just like not, you know? So there's all those small nuances, even when you're writing, even when you're speaking, but there's no video like today. And you have to be able to communicate what you want to say and make sure that people are receiving the message that you are sending. Otherwise, I might be here and smiling, but on the other side, nobody knows that I'm smiling, right? And that could be the one thing that changes the tone of the message that I'm trying to send. So yeah, building trust was continues to be, because, you know, as much as the COVID situation has kind of, I won't say reversed, but reached the point where we are okay to get back into the world and travel and do things, a lot of us are still working remotely, either part-time or full-time, or, you know, some kind of hybrid arrangement. So yeah, it's very, very important. We have to be very, very intentional about communicating. And communication, by the way, is when the person receives what you intended for them to receive. It's not just to say, but I said this, you know, you should have understood.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? People need to understand exactly the way you meant for them to understand. If they don't, then there's no communication that can happen. So yes, it's very much a very intentional point that needs to be. We all have to keep that in mind.
Exciting. Thank you so much for that, Ida. And just for our audience, as we mentioned, we've been learning about this for the past couple of weeks, and it's interesting that Ida has landed on what we've learned, say the last 3 weeks around effective communication. And exactly as you said, right? Communication, sometimes what I say is not what I meant to say from my heart. And then what is heard on the other side is not what I said from my heart. And then what is decoded and understood on the other side is not even what I said. So 4 layers where communication can break down. And we sort of understood that this was already hard before COVID. Effective communication was already hard. As long as we're dealing with other human beings, it's bound to happen. And even, pun intended, with husband and wife situations, it's bound to happen, right? And so how much more now that communication, what you're saying, is just maybe at best 30%. The other things are how you say it. Who's rolling their eyes in meetings? Who is fidgeting? Who is playing with their thumbs? And we've lost a lot of that. So effective communication, according to Ida, very essential in building team trust. Thanks so much for that. And I guess maybe that's a very, very good segue into the second piece that is kind of related. And that's this concept of connections. Now, Ida, as a Ugandan living currently in an East African country, married to a Nigerian, but coordinating with teams in Europe, and at some point during COVID, you were tasked to move things, millions worth of goods across the world, all the way from Far East Asia to the Middle East and to the entire African continent. This concept of connections, how important or vital do you think the ability or inability to build connections with the people that you were coordinating with? How vital do you think it was during those very, very sensitive times in the middle of the pandemic for you?
Oh, I can't underestimate how, or even overestimate how crucial that was. Again, maybe just to give a bit more of a background to this pandemic situation in particular. Yes, a person will probably say, just looking at my life, that okay, she's Ugandan, she lives wherever, she's married from Nigeria, she should be used to intercultural communication, let's call it, right? But no, I'm a naturally shy person by nature. I don't intentionally go out and say to people, "Hi, my name is Ida. This is what I do. What about you?" This is not the norm for me. Normally, I'm like, I give you 9 to 5. After 5, don't call me. Like, I need Ida time. I need Ida space. I'm that kind of introvert. But again, the pandemic just made it so that the team that I was working with, in particular last year, we were sitting in Geneva. I was working with French people, German people, British people, Norwegian people, Africans across the globe, across the continent, in all of our varied cultures and communication skills. Chinese people, Korean people, Philippine people, everybody. Yeah, I had people literally, like, I had to be able to connect with all sorts of people groups professionally, but also personally somehow, right? I had to be able to say to somebody, "Oh, I heard you're not feeling well today. Are you okay?" And if it means spending the next 5 minutes to understand, is it COVID? It's not COVID? Okay, thank God for that. Also, some people get offended when you say thank God for that. So, thank goodness. Okay, so it's not COVID. So what is it? Maybe try some tea or try some. It's the small things that sometimes, again, depending on the people group, some people appreciate. A Kenyan will say, okay, yeah, that's true. I haven't actually taken my dawa tea, so let me go fix lemon, ginger, honey, garlic mix, and I will take that. It's just the common flu, right? And they will appreciate that. And after that, anything you ask them to do, they are on the ball. Okay. A similar situation when you're talking to a French guy, they're like, oh, maybe try some lemon tea. It will just be like, thanks for the unsolicited advice. Moving on. What do you want? So it is a challenge to find those common areas where you can connect with a person on a personal level. Some people are more open, some people are not, for whatever reason. Maybe their backgrounds, their cultures, their non-cultures, whatever. But I have found that normally once you're able to make that personal connection, whether it's in 1 minute or 10 minutes or an hour, sometimes some people need all that time. After you've broken into that space, the person is more willing to take professional requests that would normally either not happen or would require way more time and way more attention to get to them, right? And so that common ground was not the easiest thing to find, again, when you can't see the people you're talking to. It's not the easiest thing to find when you're not from the same people group. If I'm Ugandan, I'm talking to Uganda, we have so much to talk about, right? If I'm Ugandan and I meet another Ugandan, we can complain about our president together. If I'm African and I meet another African, yeah, we can, our continent, all these things, great. But like, regardless, if you're unable to find a common space with someone, especially during the pandemic, because we were constantly working, you know, somebody mentioned somewhere, it's never ending, the remote work. Yeah, this is a very real thing. When you're working physically, you walk into your office at 8, you know you're going to walk out at 5. Well, you have the ability to walk out at 5. For remote working, we would start at 6 a.m. and end when you feel like my tasks for today are done. If that's at midnight, if that's at 6, for those who know how to manage their time, if that's at 4, for those who are super efficient, you know, like we did not have, at least in my team, our team lead was not the kind of person to be like, have you clocked your 9 hours today? Yeah, it was more objective based. Have you met the tasks for the day? If you've met them, you can leave. If you leave at 2, great. As long as all my 300 tons of cargo have moved today, yeah, you're good to go, right? And so you're constantly asking people for favors. Huh? Hey, Oluchi, quickly, can you help me? First of all, how is your kid? Your kid is okay? Feeling better today? Awesome. It means to me, you have a bit of time. Can you help me just quickly get this customs form signed? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you don't have that personal connection, and Ida is going to be like, who are you to ask me to help you get a form signed? Like, can't you do that yourself? Kind of thing. So those connections were very, 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 very crucial. And you don't have to, I have learned, you don't have to be comfortable to step out of your space and build those connections. I've had to push myself into spaces I normally would not even think about, right?
Sure.
Again, I mentioned when I was in Geneva, okay, yes, some of these people are seeing physically, but I was informed by colleagues, if you don't smoke, you're never going to get some of this information. Did I turn into a smoker? No. However, I found out where the smoking area was. Just to be like, if you see people going there, hey, you know, just, I can walk you to that place. I'm going to the canteen next to it. Let's talk about it. You know, what's happening? What's new? Are you okay? And you know, the French people are not the most talkative about personal life, so you keep it at that. Awesome. Can you help me do this and that and that? Or how do I go about getting blah, blah, blah? So building those connections, very important. You have to be very intentional about it. You have to understand, I guess, the personal boundaries of the people that you are dealing with and see how to play within that space. And when you manage to do that, it makes it easier to get people on your side to do things for you and with you. Yeah.
Understood. Thank you so much. I'm going to double down on this because what I'm hearing is that connections are super important, just like the poll that we took. And what you're advocating for is being human. So understanding that you're talking to other human beings who are going through life, right? Whether they're sick and whatnot, and connect at that level. What you're also saying is always look for ways to find common ground. We are all very grateful that you did not become a smoker, but you'll use that to find common ground in a way to get work done. And also be willing to get out of your comfort zone when you want to connect. It's not about us, it's about the other person, right? Okay, so with this in mind, because I'm sure many people on this call are like, she does interesting work, and she's sprinkling a bit of it here and there. So can you give us a story that you're allowed to share, right? A personal story during this era, this time that you've been referring to, about the time when you found yourself in a situation where you became human like the rest of us, freaking out during the pandemic, and like your work was things were about to go south simply because you needed to connect with another colleague maybe halfway across the world. And so what was the situation? What did you do? And what were the outcomes at the end of the day from the context of connecting?
Oh, wow. Okay. One comes to mind. So I had been working with a colleague in our China office. We had been moving cargo really every day. That was the job. And when I say every day, it was like Sunday to Sunday. And like some other people on the team, I was on call all day, every day. We had a shipment that was supposed to go from China, Shanghai to be specific, and was supposed to find its way to Tajikistan. And we figured it's not a big shipment. Goodness, it was like 10 tons. That's not a lot. It shouldn't be difficult to move. And we initiated it on the Thursday. And we figured, okay, the plane has left Shanghai. It was supposed to land somewhere along the way in another country, be transshipped onto a truck, and then it was supposed to, go by road across 4 countries until it got to Tajikistan. And in our minds, we're like, this is a 5-day transit situation. How difficult can it get? We'll be fine. So the plane left on Thursday. We were thinking Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. By close of business Monday, this should be done. We can close it. Everybody's happy. Saturday, I received a call, and I was informed by colleagues who were sitting in the airport in, where is this place found? Liège. What country is that? Which my countries are disappearing from? A European country. And they're like, so your cargo is here. And it shouldn't be here. it should actually be in Dubai. Why is your cargo in Liège? I thought to myself, I actually thought, this is not right. Also, I can't cry because we've lost 2 days. And I had to call my colleague in China. It's a Saturday. My colleague is Dutch. She does not play with her weekends. She clocks off on Friday, checks back in on Monday. She's like, anything that goes wrong over the weekend, there are other NGOs dealing in life and death situations that can deal with that. So I had to call her. I said, friend, so you know that shipment that left your airport on Thursday? It is now in Liège. It should not be in Liège. What are we going to do? And we had a moment where we panicked together. I will add that this lady had worked with DHL for 20 years. Surely she has seen the ups and downs of parcels getting misplaced. I think our saving grace as well was that this was not temperature sensitive cargo. Some things, if you transport them in the wrong temperature, if they're moving over a certain period of time, they will go bad. So but we're talking gloves, we're talking aprons, gumboots, so they will survive. But nevertheless, after we had our panic moment, I said to her, look, I know you're very fastidious about your weekends, so am I, but we're in trouble here. We've got cargo that's in the wrong part of the world, and we need to fix this. I don't know how to fix this, And she said to me, you know what? Who did you talk to in Liège? I know that person. We used to go golfing together. Let me talk to him and see what he advises, right? And we got off the phone. And she called that person. And golf, I've never played golf. I'm not a fan of it, but maybe I should consider because she came back and she said, okay, so this is what we're going to do. It got there by mistake, not through an error of ours. It was the airline's mistake. This guy is going to call the airline, tell them that they need to take this back. And instead of taking it all the way back to China, they might as well drop it in Dubai. It's half the journey. Okay. So there's quite a bit of negotiation going on between so many people. And I remember that Saturday because we were supposed to be going elsewhere for other non-work related things, but I had to sit down and actually start figuring things out. You know, we're talking to airline colleagues of an airline I've never flown, I've never heard of, I've never, you know, and we had to say to them, look, we're not saying it's your fault, but it is your fault. We are not saying that you should take it all the way back to Shanghai, but we're offering you an opportunity here to just like half the journey, get it to Dubai. Then from Dubai, we will figure out how to make things work elsewhere, right? And we had to get on the call with our colleagues in Dubai and explain to them, this happened, this is what we're doing, this is what we're proposing. If the airline agrees, we will come back to you with a new estimated time of arrival. Is anybody going to be there to receive this stuff? My colleagues in Dubai were saying, you guys are really, like Saturdays are Sunday. Huh? We take this religiously, you can't. There's a lot of negotiation with a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of apologies that also had to be happening everywhere.
Yeah.
Because we're calling the final person and saying, we're so sorry, your cargo is coming. Problem is right now it's in the wrong place, but don't worry, we're getting it to you, you know?
Understood.
So those connections, even if you don't know somebody in the heat of the moment, because we're calling each other and say, hi, my name is Adam from this organization. I'm so sorry to ruin your weekend. Are you okay? Do you have 5 minutes? It might stretch into 2 hours, but you know, if you can give us this time, we will make it up to you somehow. The good news is, eventually, the cargo got to where it needed to go in Tajikistan, and it got there maybe 24 hours late, which is not bad, all things considered. And we were able to maintain good relationships with all the people that we had to negotiate with along the way. But again, if we did not have people who are willing to build their connections, people who are willing to step out of their norm, you know, if my Dutch friend in China was like, no, Ida, it's a Saturday, you deal with it. If I was like, yeah, you're calling me, but you know, this is outside my working hours, there's nothing I can do. You know, like there's so many people who could have said the wrong thing or who could have been difficult and unwilling to step out of their comfort zones, and this would not have been a success at all.
Interesting. Thank you so much for that. My key takeaway is I need to go sign up and learn how to play golf because
I see peace has taken away the same thing.
there you go. We're talking about common grounds that apparently golfers tend to find common grounds a lot easier than the rest of us. But thank you so much for that. And I think the bottom line there is common ground is not just common ground around work. It's in this era of remote work. If you want to lead effectively, lead your teams and lead projects effectively, understanding not only that you're dealing with humans on the other side, but also doing your homework to see what you guys have in common. It could be golf, it could be food, it could be a certain part of the country, of the world where they studied in, or a certain university, or you could have a mutual connection. Quite literally, in LinkedIn it says connections. Even that could open a lot of doors. It's just about being intentional and not just approaching people without doing your homework, right? Thank you so much for that, Ida. And I want to be mindful of time. I know that we have people that may have a lot of questions. I haven't seen questions pop up in the chat. But if you have questions at this point, just throw them in, and we'll be sure to take them before we drop off the call. Yeah.
If communication is key to building trust, how then yes. If communication is key to building trust, how then do you build trust with a team member who isn't great at communication? So in my team, We have a lot of difficult conversations. We do. And if somebody is not great at communicating, there's no two ways about it. We don't like, how do I put it? I think the humanitarian space doesn't lend itself to subtle conversations often. We tend to have people that are specifically hired because they're diplomatic, no? But otherwise, you will have somebody come to you and say, you are a terrible communicator. Half the time, I don't understand what you're saying. We don't have time to be decoding what you're saying. Can you find a different way to communicate? Now, I'm not saying that I necessarily agree with the direct approach all the time. But I do agree with the fact that somebody cannot fix something if they don't know that it's a problem. Right?
Sure.
So I would say if you have a team member that is not great at communicating, if there's a diplomatic way to let them know, let them know. But the thing is, once they know, then at least they're aware and they can make efforts to work on it and make it better. Now, if after said team member has been told that you're not communicating the way you think you are, and they're not putting in effort to communicate, then I would suppose as a team lead, you go through your performance improvement plan if you have one, and count this as part of it to say, hey, actually, in this work that we're doing together, this is very important. Can you please go through steps A, B, C, and D that are designed to help you improve your communication?
Interesting.
Because if you're not communicating well, these are the consequences, these are the implications, right? People don't understand what you're saying, they're not doing what is expected, etc, etc, etc.
Right.
This is
Right.
what I would,
Right.
how I would go about it.
Interesting. Thank you so much for that. So in essence, if you're having a communication issue, try to engage again the human in as diplomatic a way as possible, as encouraging a way as possible. And then if things change, then there's always a performance prospect framework that every team should have in place. So tie it to development areas, right? And it's interesting you mentioned that two key things out of that: the role of decisive leadership in fostering all of this collaboration to happen, and then secondly, even having a performance management framework in the first place can help to build collaboration. Now, in future webinars, fireside chats, I know there's one coming up in the coming weeks. We're actually going to do a deep dive on that performance piece, because from what we've taken, not even just from our own experience, but from people that have reached out to us, managing performance is essential to collaboration, and the lack of it can really reduce connections and kill trust, especially now in the era of remote work. This is amazing. So just very quickly, touching collaboration. You've talked about leadership. You've talked about the need for honest conversations and a bit about the performance piece. But I don't know, from the perspective of tools, those could be digital tools, it could be manual tools, whatever. I imagine that in your line of work, you guys have some go-to tools that you've seen in your experience really has helped to foster great collaboration and help you lead effectively during this era. What would you say are your top three?
Top three. I feel like I'm going to disappoint you guys here.
It doesn't have to be tech. It just be basic.
No. And this is as basic as it gets. A, the humanitarian space, again, does not really lend itself to complicated softwares that require bandwidth of God knows what to be able to run. We need to be able to run with tools that can be done offline, that can be done while bullets are flying, as you mentioned earlier, that can be done later. So I fill in my data now, and when I hit an internet spot somewhere by chance, even if it's only 5, what's the lowest bandwidth? as there's like one bar of signal, my data can actually be uploaded and sent to whoever needs to. So we don't tend to work with the high end. Maybe that's the wrong word. We don't tend to work with complicated tools. So that being said, in terms of collaboration, for my current work, believe it or not, Microsoft Excel is the way to go.
She's win again.
It's very archaic. It's very old school, but it works.
Sure.
It works, and it works anywhere and everywhere. So any I don't know, tracking, any monitoring that we can do, log frames, whatever, we do it on Excel. Yeah. And we keep it offline. You meet somebody, you exchange your USB sticks. Here, let me share the file with you, and that's how it works, kind of thing. As an organization, corporately, we have started getting into this whole Microsoft Teams suite, and it works. It works, but it has limitations. As I said, in places where internet is not the best, in places where people basically only have hotspots or hot times where the internet is strongest. Again, it's not the most effective, right? But it works. Which other one have we tried? Honestly, within my team, 7/8 of everything we do is on Microsoft Excel.
Understood.
So anytime we're doing tracking, anytime we're monitoring activities that are being done, anytime, and emails, let's say Excel emails. Anytime you're trying to figure out where things are, where did things go, who said what, who did what, who didn't do what, if it's not on email and it's not on Excel, it didn't happen.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Interesting. Thanks a lot for that. I'm hearing two key things. Number one, the humanitarian space is in dire need of innovation. So all of my tech bros on the call, feel free to slide into Ida's DM.
As long as the innovation takes into account that it needs to work while somebody is hiding in a bunker underground, like 2 levels, yeah, we can do that.
I love it. And second key takeaway, and more seriously, is that again, when we're thinking collaboration tools, the first step is to be honest with yourself. Your team should be honest with yourselves. Like, what's our current reality? Like, what's the space that we work in? What are our current limitations in that space? First within the sector, and secondly in our organization, what's our current I can't say how many times at Verindo, we engage with teams and companies that have dreams of becoming woke, right? And so people are paying for collaboration tools, and those subscriptions that just keep going.
Exactly.
They're paying for tools that when you look at it over 6 months, the engagement, the teams are not really using it. And then you have a leader who's going, why are we not posting those messages on Trello? I've been guilty of that myself.
It's true. We've had attempts of Mira board.
Yes, Mira.
Yeah.
Yes.
So our headquarters is very crazy with Mira board. Oh my God! Anytime we have brainstorming session, join the Mira board, whatever. And then the field officers are like, what is that? Also, how does it work? Also, like, it's not working. The link is not working. And we're like, why can't we just use a flipboard and a chart? Do you have a camera? Do you have a flipboard? Do you have a chart? Let's do that. So yeah, I think we do have to be very realistic about some of these tools. Great, but they don't work for it. They're not like one size fits all, for all situations.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that idea. And listen, guys, as you saw when you signed up, today is just a 1-hour conversation. It wasn't supposed to be the deep dive masterclass, because we can teach on this for hours around collaboration tools, around techniques to build connections, and then even just the whole concept of trust alone is a how many parts series. But what we wanted to do was just frame the conversation at a high level. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be doing deep dives into some of these areas and more. All right. And key takeaway: trust is important, as per what our dear Ida has told us. And a fundamental part of building trust or killing it is effective communication or the lack of it. Connections, be human, find common ground, and be, for goodness sake, be willing to go out of your comfort zone. Don't become a smoker. So we're not saying go out of your comfort zone and take on drugs just because we said you should connect, but within reasonable limits. And then finally, around collaboration, just be practical. If you're a leader leading teams, be practical about what works in your sector, what works for you guys, what your team structure, and cut your losses where they are. All right, it is now at the top of the hour. I want to thank you, Ida. I want to crave the indulgence of people on the call for the next 2 minutes because we want to pass across some important announcements for you, and then we can disperse. But thank you so much, Ida. We're definitely going to bring you back because we have a feeling that it wasn't only that shipment that got lost in Europe, but that's part
Hey,
of you.
nobody else
With
needs
the
to know.
Mhm. All right, thank you so much. So in the way of announcements, just very quickly, and if Jonah, if you can share your screen, that would be very helpful. Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, this is just us saying, listen, we've been learning for the last few months and we would love to share what we're learning with anyone who wants to hop on a call. Yeah, so next week, we'll be doing a deep dive into effective performance management. Again, all of this is within the context of leading effectively in the era of remote work. All right, so same time, same place, tell your friends, spread the links, sign up, and we will have a conversation. It's going to be interesting because we're gonna have guests in plural, like an entire panel. So that promises to be lit. Next announcement is that within a few months, we will be having a deep dive into all of this. Based on popular demand, we're having the second installment of our new managers bootcamp. We ran one the first quarter of this year, and we had attendees from a couple of African countries. And basically, the problem we're trying to solve here is, you see all the conversation we had today. We've realized that the confusion is most pronounced amongst a certain demographic. And that's the fact that you now have young millennials, Gen Zs becoming first-time managers, getting promoted, for their awesome work and awesome technical abilities, and not enough conversations like this prior. And so what we're having in workplaces, and we've validated this with a number of our clients, it's just this problem of, okay, so now I've gotten the job, I have increased responsibilities, but my goodness, they gave me 3 people. What am I supposed to do with them? How do I build trust in this? I don't even trust them. They don't trust me. How do I make them? I want them to be work like soldiers, like an army. And unfortunately, I don't know how to do that. If you found yourself asking these questions, or people who have, then this bootcamp is for you. And then even if you are a mid-level manager, you've been a manager for a minute, but you found yourself low-key Googling, how do I connect with East Africans? You probably want to come for this bootcamp as well. Okay, so links are up to sign up. Share with your friends in the coming weeks. We will have more conversations around this, and it promises to be amazing. And we're going to have a whole cohort from East, Central, West, and Southern Africa, and so that promises to be exciting. All right, next announcement. Yeah, connections. Please stay connected with us, please. As you can tell, we like connections, so follow us on our social media platforms. LinkedIn, Facebook, that's at Brain to Excel. And a lot of our communication will be happening there. We have community groups that we're growing, but when you go on social media, you'd get more information on that. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. It's been amazing. Great to have you here again. Thank you so much, Ida, for joining us. and for sharing your nuggets of wisdom. Definitely 1 hour is not enough for superheroes like yourself. Um, we're definitely going to bring you. In fact, we'll bring you back for master classes. I think everybody in the audience says amen to that. All right. So thank you so much, everyone, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.